Hey everyone, I hope you like rambling idiocy and an inability to deliver a point because this video is unscripted. How are you today? I'm doing alright. Today we're talking about the different regions in Pokemon, a general analysis about the exploration elements and how people are generally intended to traverse them, and design philosophy for the different regions has changed over time. I'm going to try and keep this as coherent as possible, so bear with me if it gets stupid. I'll try to edit out the rambling bits, but most of this is probably going to be rambling anyway. The map can go over here in the corner. We don't really need that. Now, I wanted to talk about this because the general design philosophy for Pokemon has changed over time. And I'd argue it's become more linear, and that's not great. Not great. I think it's kind of... I don't want to say it's gone downhill since Gen 5, but the exploration elements have kind of fallen to the wayside a bit. And we're going to talk about that a bit, how the changes in design philosophy for the main adventure has changed. Nothing about the post-game. Oh, well, maybe some about the post-game. Not much, though. Not much. Okay, first we're talking about Kanto and Gen 1. I'm using the map from red and blue and green, yellow, because why not? That's the original map, and it doesn't factor in the routes that are included to Johto and wherever and whichever way those go. Don't worry too much about those. We'll talk about those in a bit. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. You guys saw nothing? You all saw... Repeat after me, I saw nothing. Okay. Now, the Kanto region starts off pretty simple, which is understandable, considering this is the first entry in the series. They want to ease you into it. So the first couple routes are pretty short. You got, like, at least 2 screens worth of travel here. You got a little forest dungeon right around here. And a few offshoot areas that you can't access yet, which draws your attention for later. We're going to come back to that. So, remember this. This spot right there. Now, after that you hit your first gym, and this doesn't really unlock anything aside from your ability to, raise Pokemon of a higher level. I don't think it actually affects HMs yet, which are going to be the core exploration feature for every game in the series. I'll talk about those in greater detail in a different video. We're not going to focus too much on individual route design, so much as the overall world design. So just bear with me. From Pewter City, it's still pretty straightforward. This is your first time you'll encounter a proper... I don't know if dungeon's the right word for it, but it's Mount Moon. I consider most caves in Pokemon to be dungeons, since they're hard to escape from if you need to get to a healing location without dig or escape rope. So it tests your mettle against exploration, and I think that's a good thing. And I like Mount Moon. It's okay. Caves in Gen 1 kinda suck, especially this asshole right there. But we don't talk about him. We don't talk about that cave. That Cave Johnson's an asshole. And from Mount Moon, we head over to Cerulean City. Everyone likes Cerulean City because it has Misty in I'm not going to go into that. Ignore that. From Cerulean City, you can fight the gym leader outright, or you can train by traveling up the route up here, which leads to a rival battle, and it's basically a giant loop that wastes all of your time, all of it. But there's this tantalizing cave that you can see from Cerulean City that we'll talk about later again. Oh, I know you love these little bits where I'm like, oh, we're going to talk about that later. You love being teased, don't you? And we got another dead end here for now. After Cerulean, I believe you unlock the ability to use Cut, but since you don't have the HM, you're like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? And then you're like, oh shit, there's a route down here. I'm gonna go down here. Oh, there's an asshole, and he won't let me through because I won't give him lemonade. I don't know why there's not a vending machine in his work quarters. I thought those were pretty common, especially in Japan. But what do I know? I've never been there. I could be wrong. I could be talking about out my ass. So instead, there's this little tunnel that's basically a giant waste of time, but it leads you around that route to the next one that connects to Vermilion City, where the infamous Thunderbolt is everyone's favorite Lieutenant Thunderbolt. Lieutenant Surge. It's Lieutenant Surge. Yeah, this is also where the infamous tree is. The tree that's like 2 feet across that you have to cut down, otherwise you can't access the gym. Fortunately for you, the player, there's the SS Anne. Somehow how do you get on there? Do you get a ticket? No, maybe I'm thinking of the SS Aqua from Gen 2. You go there, it's basically another gauntlet of trainers, and you get the HM cut, which allows you to take care of the asshole tree. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you, tree. And then after that, you're able to explore yet again. This opens the ability for you to... What does it? Oh, yeah. Since you have cut now, this actually opens up 2 routes. You can now access the upper route from earlier, or, since you're already over here, you'll most likely want to explore this way. It leads to a dead end, because a Snorlax decided to fall asleep in the middle of the road. But we don't judge him. Everyone needs their naps. And then, there is another cave right here. Diglett Cave. And from there, it actually links to the other end of the map, which is one of the coolest things about Kanto, honestly. You actually see this a lot in the first couple gens, and I really enjoy that element. It doesn't really make logical sense how it connects, but it's a nice touch, and I really appreciate the inclusion. It leads you back to Pewter City, and allows you access to a few different options. There was a building in Pewter City that you couldn't access originally, that I didn't really touch on, but it required you to use cut to access it. And since you got cut now, it actually allows you to go in there and find out what that building is. And this is where you do the fossil rival, but actually, no. This is where you get the amber fossil. That's what I'm thinking of, because you don't get to actually do anything with the fossil till you get to Cinnabar Island. And this is also where there's a side route heading south past the Vermilion Forest that allows you to get to Viridian City faster. And also, this is where you can encounter the Professor's assistant, which gives you the move Flash, which is mandatory if you don't want to go inside by the asshole Cave Johnson we didn't want to talk about earlier, which is going to be over here. Now, naturally, the next point of progression is over here. This is the next point, and then you go through this cave that nobody likes, nobody in the entire world, for completely justifiable reasons. Nobody likes Dark Cave. Fuck you, Dark Cave. Fuck you. And then afterwards, you end up in everyone's beloved Lavender Town, which we're not going to talk about. You get a flute to deal with the Snorlax. That's basically the gist of it. Am I forgetting a Snorlax? I don't think I am. But you can't actually get the flute until you enter Saffron City. So now, you have 2 routes that connect to the Snorlax, but it blocks both of those, because the Snorlax needs his naps, guys. Don't get mad at him. He didn't make you go through Dark Cave. Okay, maybe he did. But so did the Lemonade guy. And really, the Lemonade guy did it first. The Snorlax is just minding his own Snorlax business. The Lemonade guy is just being an asshole. So now, you're stuck in a situation where you have another dead end, but is it really a dead end? No, it's another one of those traversal points that connects from one route to another around Saffron City, and this is getting to be a bit of a clusterfuck, so let me clean that up a bit. Basically, there we go. Now you can all see it clearly. Yeah, now you can connect from here to Celadon City. So, yeah, so far it's linear in the sense that there's an intended route that you're supposed to go because you can't access the other ways, but it lets you discover it on your own. And that's the important factor. It's not a guided tour around a balloon. Fucking Unova. That's beside the point. And from Cerulean, you can get the lemonade, so you're actually given... This is where the branching paths actually opens up a bit. Celadon City, you get the option to, you can get lemonades. You can get rid of the asshole, and that removes this traversal point. You no longer have to take those routes, because you can buy lemonade at the next town over. Why they're in the next town over and not in the vending machine in the lounge is beyond me. But I know that joke's not funny, so let's move on. And there. Now you have several connecting routes to explore, and it's pretty legit. Pretty legit. And after some shenanigans, you get the Sylph Scope, which lets you go here to get the Poke Flute in Lavender Town. Everyone loves the Poke Flute. Very memorable. And now, from here you get a few options for how to explore. You can either tackle the 2 gyms in Saffron City. One of them's an actual gym, and one of them's a Pokemon League gym, for those of you unaware. And from there, you can either do Saffron City Gym, or you can take one of 2 routes that'll take you to, what's it called? Fuchsia City. Fuchsia City, which is this way, around here, and that is pretty legit. You have to have a bike to go down this route over here, but that's pretty easy to get. Most players will have it by that point. And it's nice to have options on how to explore these different locations. Now, after you've completed all the mainland gyms, assuming you didn't decide to just wait and come back to Saffron later, and you actually did it in the first place, now you have the option to either head to the final... I say final, but the final gym's actually in the second town. The 7th gym on Cinnabar Island, you have the option to either traverse the Seafoam Islands, or you can use the move Fly, which you'll get at the top of the cycling route, and then you can fly to Pallet Town, head south to Cinnabar to skip the dungeon altogether. This gives the player options, which I feel is very important. Now, I think that's where the analysis for the exploration should really end. Suffice it to say, after you do your shenanigans with the Elite Four, you unlock the cave that I talked about over here that I hinted at earlier. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, Kanto's an interesting region. My clusterfuck of sketch work probably made this more confusing than it had to be, but, you know, it's how things go. It's how things go. Moving on to Gen 2, everyone's favorite generation in Pika-Mans, except for the Gen 1ers, I guess. Now, I'm gonna be blunt with you. I like Johto a lot. I have a lot of nostalgia for the region, and so do a lot of people. Is it my favorite region? I'd say it's up there, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. But that's a whole nother thing. Let's get to the analyzing. Once again, this map is going up here, right where it belongs, because we don't need it. I will be touching on the Kanto map as well, but not at the moment. For Gen 2, we will be starting over here. Now let me just load up my handy-dandy wiki for town names, because I'm bad at those, apparently. You start in New Bark Town, and I'm not going to go into story details, but it's pretty much the same as Gen 1, except instead of traversing north, you head to the west. It pretty much has the same progression as Gen 1. There's a bit of back and forth over here, and there's another dead-end route connecting to another powerful area, which is interesting. But that's not what we're talking about. Once again, you head to this town, which is, let's see, Violet City. That's right. And from there is your first gym. We don't really need to talk about the gym too much. Suffice to say, there's another cave that you pass right around here. And let's get back to that later. Once again, I'm not too fond of the caves in Gen 1 and 2, because they're a pain. They're pain! Actually, I don't like caves in Gen 1 through 3. Gen 4 is where I started to warm up to them a bit more, but that's beside the point. From Violet City, their first instinct will be to continue heading west, because that's where the game has been guiding you this entire time. There's a route connecting here to an optional area, but that's something else altogether. Once again, you have an asshole tree, but this asshole tree is different. It's a dancing asshole tree. Everyone's favorite asshole tree. The cactus guy from Final Fantasy. Wait, no, that's not it. But yeah, this presents you with two routes. From this tree, you can actually see there's two routes heading north and further west. And this intrigues you. You're like, oh, what's beyond there? I better go find the other way to figure out what goes beyond. And then you do that. You head down south from Violet City, and you end up going through another cave. This cave actually not bad. This is actually one of the caves I hate the least. But again, we're not going to talk about individual routes too much here. After that, you go through another gauntlet of enemies to Azalea Town. Yes! This town's basically just a story thing to establish Team Rocket. Don't worry about it too much, because that's not what we're here to talk about. And after that, you unlock Cut again. As you know, you have to unlock the HMs in every Pokemon game. And from there, you head to Goldenrod. This game actually stays more apparently linear for longer, which is kind of an unusual decision. I also question the decision on why they didn't connect this route here and Goldenrod City, but whatever. More interestingly, there is something here in Goldenrod that we'll talk about in a bit. Oh, I know. I bet some of you know what I'm talking about. And after you finish Goldenrod, you get a watering pail, so you can head up here, and then you sprinkle it on the dancing tree, and then it punches you in the face, and then it runs off, and then you can head through. And this connects your routes between Violet City, Goldenrod, and our next town, Ecruteak. Everyone loves Ecruteak. It has two dungeons, and they're both pretty good. They're both pretty good. Actually, Gen 2 has pretty good dungeons outside of, like, one cave, which I'm not fond of. Anything that involves using flash is generally looked down upon, in my opinion. And from there, you're presented with yet more options. You can go this way, but that's a dead end. There's a cave, but it requires flash, and nobody likes flashing caves. And it also has a body of water blocking it. We didn't really talk about bodies of water in the last one because they didn't really show themselves until a point where you couldn't traverse them. Unless you count Pallet Town. So, you're basically funneled to the west. It's kind of interesting, honestly. I'm kind of going over this in my head again for the first time in a long time, so it is just educational to me as it is to you. Over here, there's a boat port, which we'll worry about later, but it doesn't really serve any purpose as of yet. There's also another mini-dungeon. This game loves its mini-dungeons. They're everywhere. Everywhere. You can't do the gym yet, so you gotta go down to this island, and this is the route that I was talking about. It has another dungeon, but this is the route where I find it kind of curious that it doesn't actually connect to Goldenrod, despite them both being connected by sea directly. There's even a port in Goldenrod, so it's kind of... it's just really weird. Next up is Cianwood City, a beachside city where you fight Chuck Norris. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You fight Chuck Norris, get some medicine, and then you go back up here and fight another gym. And that will unlock your... well, you actually unlock the ability to use Surf before that, but you know what I mean. You unlock the ability to use Surf, and then you head over to Mahogany Town. I totally was not looking at another screen when I read that. Just trust me on that. It's okay. It's okay, you can believe me. And then, there's another dead-end route, but everyone loves this route because it's actually pretty well designed, but we're not going individual routes because I need to stop going on tangents! I need to stop it! And then after you finish that, you go through another dungeon, another one I actually like. This is actually... Ice Cave is actually one of the few good dungeons in the game, but... we're not going to go into that. We're not going to go into that. Just slap the monitor, and that will psychically slap me into staying on track. Next is Blackthorn City. this place is okay. We don't really need to go into too much detail. It basically unlocks the move Waterfall. That's all you need. And basically, you just ride the route down till you get back to your hometown. Because what's this area right here? What's this area right here? What's this area right here, guys? Oh, is it a route that connects to another region? Oh, I think it is. I think it is, and it connects to Kanto. Oh my god, who knew? Who knew that Johto was connected to Kanto directly? I didn't hint at that earlier. Who knew? Are you guys getting sick of that? I'm sorry. I'm just slowly going insane because it's like midnight, and I'm wearing my voice out by doing this. Now you'll remember. I forgot to mention that. The cave I mentioned earlier on the route over here, it actually connects to a cave over here. I usually forget about this because I don't like this cave because it requires flash, but it's neat. It's kind of a throwback to the whole Diglett cave, which, you know, it connects. It connects. And this is where things get really interesting. Because after you skadoodle up the Elite Four and then you punch them in the face until they give in, and then you get the credits. Yeah, credits. That's how credits work. You punch them in the face and you get them. It sends you back to New Bark Town, and you're given a few options. I could be misremembering, but I think you get the option to either head back through this route and go through here to access Kanto just north of Viridian City, or you can go to this boat. It will go woo. Don't worry about why it went over land. The people are okay. I'm certain. I'm certain. And it takes you to Vermilion City. And it's actually, at this point in the game, you'll have all of your HMs, and this is part of the reason why I think people adore Johto so much, or Gen 2 so much. It's not just that they connect in an interesting way like that. It's that the entire second region is basically your playground. You enter from here, and you have access to all of your abilities that allow you to explore. There's nothing stopping you for the asshole tree. There's no lemonade asshole. You can go every which way, wherever you want to go. It's just full of options, and that's fantastic, isn't it? I think that's really the core of why people actually like... I think that's actually the core of why people like Gen 2's region so much. I mean, sure, the notion of accessing a second region is cool, but I'm gonna level with you guys. Kanto and Johto are pretty dang small regions. So, that basically equates to the same size as Hoenn or Sinnoh or any later region in the series. The sense of scale isn't that significant, but it feels that way because Kanto was the first region you ever explored. So it feels like a substantial expansion, and on top of that, it gives you open exploration to the region. And it starts you at a different point, which gives you an interesting point of perspective. Diglett Cave is now blocked off by another Snorlax. Snorlax, what are we gonna do with you, buddy? You can't just snooze wherever you want. I know you like it. I know you like it, but you're just being an asshole, man. I mean, we already woke you up once, and you can't keep oversleeping. It's unhealthy. We're gonna have to talk to your parents, bring them to the guidance counselor's office. Okay, I'm going too far with that, I guess. And from there, yes. Well, actually, I guess Snorlax kind of blocks your route over here, so you're limited there. But from there, you can actually take quite a few routes. You can head this way from Saffron, that way from Saffron. This way, you can unlock the radio tower, turn on the power plant, head that way, enter at Misty's date. Like an asshole. Pokemon Gen 1 and 2 is just full of assholes. Even the rival in Gen 1 and 2 is assholes. Even if you look at it just right, this part of the region kind of looks like an asshole. Okay, I'm going too far with that. But yeah, you're given options on how to explore, and it's just great. You still have the route that connects Diglett Cave once you get rid of the Snorlax. And aside from the boat, which you can ride back and forth to grind experience, you also unlock a train which connects... Damn it. You also unlock the train which will connect Saffron City, rather illogically, to Goldenrod City. So you got a bunch of crisscrossing optional routes which connect to one another all throughout the map. And this is a big part of just why people love the game. I mean, look at all the ways these regions connect to one another. It's great. I mean, my artist rendition of these maps isn't doing it justice, but this is why I think a lot of people really love the region. That and the climactic battle with Red, but you know, that's for a different time. That's for a different time. I like it. I like it. Let's leave it at that. Gen 1 and 2's design philosophy, it guides the player. That's the way I'll put it. It's not linear, but it guides you. It's not funneling you... Well, it is funneling you through, but... I don't know, the way I'd say it is it blocks you off with... It blocks your paths in logical ways and hints at other routes that could be taken later. So it keeps your intrigue ready for exploration rather than just gating off your progress with that being your only way forward. It's how they keep things interesting as opposed to later generations, but we'll get to those. We'll get to those, and we'll get to those later because we're going to Hoenn. Nice segue, right? You like it? No? Yeah, fuck you. Okay, next is Hoenn. We're gonna use the Ruby Sapphire map, but we also have this one for fancy art. Gotta have the fancy art for no reason, because I'm just gonna throw it in the corner anyway. Don't judge me. I'm slowly dying, guys. I'm slowly dying. This region... It's alright. I'm not a fan, but I can respect the way it's designed. Because just looking at it, you can see all the optional routes and how they connect with one another. But you start here. S for start. Okay. You can go first town. This is the general pattern for pretty much every generation. First few towns are dead ends. No, they're not dead ends, but they force you through one way. There's this here, but does that actually connect? Yeah, that does connect. I think. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're given a few options. You're blocked off by water on multiple routes, which is interesting. So it forces you to go through here. There's ledges blocking you here, and a dead-end cave, which you're required to go into to cause plot progression, which will give you a way to skip over the water since you don't get surf yet. That takes you to the second area, or the second gym, before you take another trip. Woo! Yeah, you guys are loving that, aren't you? Off the beaten path. That's what people want from Pokemon. I really should pull up the wiki. Hang on. If there's any game I'm bad with names in, it's Hoenn. Especially at this hour of the night. Because I can't think straight at all. Yeah, we basically skimmed over the first few towns. Petalburg, Rustboro, Dewford, and now Slateport. This is where things get interesting. You got another dead-end route there. It's actually... it's dead-end for multiple reasons. It's not even that you can't surf. It's that you can't even head this way. Because it's a one-way street. It's a one-way street that you'll never be able to go. And that should make you sad. Not really. But, Yeah, it's one of the design quirks I'm not overly fond of with Gen 3. But we'll leave it at that for now. You head north, deal with the gym, another dead-end route. Actually, I know you get Rock Smash at this point, so it actually will connect these routes now that you have Rock Smash, which is nice. This route's a dead-end though until you get Surf. Why you get Surf from a fire gym? I don't know. I don't fucking know. But it's just how it is. You can't actually access the fire gym for route reasons, but you go up here, you do stuff. You actually have a few options here. You can head south along this route. Well, it's still a dead end, I guess. So let's do that. You can go down this way to get back to Rustboro, which will allow you to go this way again, back up here, and now you can access here after doing some shenanigans with the evil team. Which will, after you finish the gym, grant you Surf. And this opens up quite a few options. It doesn't fix some of the dead ends, like this, or this. Those are still hot garbage. But you can now access this route properly without weaving in and out of the map lines like an asshole like me with my tablet pen. You're free to explore the route, which is okay. I don't like the water routes in this game. I don't like them. But the option's there, and it's nice. It also opens up this route that connects Slateport to, Oldale Town. And that's okay. The point is, there's options. Which is also a lot more dead ends that are one way now. Which is not great. It's not great. Not a fan. But now that you got Surf, you can finally access this route, which leads to another dead end. Oh boy. So you head north, and then you head south after you finish another gym. And then you can connect these routes. Can't remember what was blocking you, but you can access it now. And then you get to Lily Cove. And from here, the game opens up not very much at all. You basically have a huge open area of water. Ooh, you love it, right? A huge open area of water, but you can't access this town, you can't access this town. Yeah, I think you can go over here, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't, unless you like traveling across huge bodies of water and wasting your time. It's a nice town, but I wouldn't go out of my way to go there. So you're basically forced to go to Moss Deep to get Dive, which will allow you to access this gem, along with a dungeon. Yeah. It's not great. This is a terrible idea. And after that, you head to the Elite Four, or you can head down this route for a laugh, and that's it. There's no real experimentation with exploration in this game. The water routes are kind of weak, because they're basically large expanses of nothing. Which doesn't really sell the ocean very well. Like, the ocean's a very diverse ecosystem, but this game doesn't really do it justice. And in a game about land versus sea, that's kind of a shame. But that's a whole nother video. I don't like Hoenn, but they keep it interesting. They keep it interesting. The land area is largely... everything makes sense in terms of what kind of geography you come across. You got desert here, volcano here. You got a rainforest here. It makes enough sense to suspend your disbelief. Nothing feels out of place. The water routes are bland, but, you know, it's fine. People like it. You like getting wet, that's up to you. I won't judge. Next up is the Sevi Islands, because I thought that would be a fun inclusion. This was an addition to Kanto. There's not really much to say here. They're mostly linear routes, and you can only tackle them sequentially. You go to Sevi Island 1, go doop doop doop, and 2 doop 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 boop, and then skip it because you can't access here, and then doop 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 doop. How was that for an analysis? Sevi Islands are okay, but there's not really much to talk about for exploration since your method of traversal between them is a boat. You boat to there, you boat to there, and you're basically locked into progression by which island you've cleared. And that's a design decision I'm not super fond of. Needless to say. At least not here. It works better in a later generation that we'll get to. But there's other things in that game I'm definitely going to complain about. So let's get to it. Let's move on to a generation I like. Oh no. Sinnoh! Everyone loves Sinnoh, don't they, guys? Oh, they don't? Oh no. I actually like Sinnoh a lot. It's actually my favorite region. Or it was my favorite region. It's still a good one. It's just suffered from a problem of too many fucking HMs. You all know what I'm talking about. You all know. You've been there. You've been to them all. Haven't you? I'm on to you. Let's just put the map here. Is that good? No, let's put it here. That map's optional. That's an event. We're not going to talk about event places. Just FYI. We're not going to talk about this route. We're not going to talk about this route. We're not going to talk about Groot. You're all gonna have to deal with it. So let's talk about this. We're also not going to worry about that because that's basically a dead end. It's a post-game stuff. You start here, and I'm going to pull up the wiki again because I'm terrible with names. I'm pretty sure it's like Twin Leaf Town, something. Wiki, to my aid! Twin Leaf. Haha! I knew a thing! How about that, guys? You impressed? You can't see it, but I'm winking at you. Not doing anything for you? Okay, good. Got another route you can't take, but it's there to tantalize you for later, because it's given significance with an opening cutscene that we're not going to talk about yet. Next up is Sand Gem Town. It exists. There's not really much to connect it to Jubilife City. Jubilife City is interesting, but we're not talking about the individual city or route design. We're just talking about the approach. So it's whatever. You got a dead end here. You got a dead end there. You got a dead end here. So you're basically forced to go to Orberg. Orberg. There we go. Can't remember what HM this unlocks, but it basically lets you clear the way to Floroma Town. This place is okay. Then you go through a gauntlet of trainers to get to Eterna City. It's okay. It's really hard to talk about the maps without going into detail about the town, so just bear with me when I just skim over it like that. From Eterna City, you can take a bike route down here, which also will connect to the cave system here. I don't think it's accessible. I haven't played Gen 4 in a long time, so this is where the regions start to get a bit hazy for me. Gen 4 is one of my favorite regions, but I don't actually remember a whole lot about how you progress through it. Not much, anyway. A lot of the towns are just filler, but I think that's okay. It gives some life to the region. And I dig it. I dig it. I diglet? I diglet. I'm sorry. Next up is Heart Home City. After you connect to the route down here... After you connect that route with the bike path, you can head over here. I guess these are just dead ends right now. You go to Heart Home, and from there, you get... What do you get? North along this route, and there's daycare. And you head here, and you're blocked by a bunch of asshole side ducks, which are just standing in the way for no reason. Because I guess they couldn't think of a better obstacle. Don't worry about it. I don't know why they couldn't have just let you go through there. There's no good reason for it. This town's basically just for lore. And I don't know why that's not optional. But whatever. And there you head over here, which is Veilstone City, where the next gym is. From there you got a few options for how to progress. You can head down along this way to get to that city, or you can head back here to go that way to that city. And after that you can go to a dead end. The region's huge, so you're encouraged to fly everywhere once you unlock that ability. I think you actually unlock it here. Yeah, I actually like that about the region. It's nice. It's nice. Yeah, that's okay. And after you finish that, you're not allowed to go here because some assholes are saying that there's a power outage, and I guess that means you can't access a city. So, this route unlocks this town. You go to Iron Island, you do a thing, then you go back here, get the gym badge, then you go over here, bam, boom, bip, and then you win. There's not much more to it. I guess the point is the region is pretty open. The closest thing to a playground you get here is actually the Battle Island, which I actually like quite a lot, because it gives you a few options. It's relatively small. It's definitely smaller than the likes of Kanto and Johto, but it gives you some room to flex your muscles with all of your HMs that you've unlocked at that point. So it's a nice addition. I like it. It connects there to there, and that connects there to there. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice inclusion, guys. I'll do it more justice if I ever do a full review. Just bear with me. This isn't super constructive. This is just me rambling about the general design philosophy of these regions as they progressed. And that brings us to Unova! I hate Unova. It's not my least favorite region by any stretch, but God damn, I hate Unova, especially in Black and White 1. Let me go over this. You see a lot of dots here, but the general progression for Black and White is this. You start here, and you go woo, woo, woohoo, yeah, woo, and that's it. And then the post-game lets you explore these areas at your leisure, which is the only nice thing I can say. And if that isn't emblematic of the problem with Black and White 1's exploration, I don't know what is. I don't like it. I also don't like how there's a desert just north of a city, just below a forest, just between a mountain and another mountain. I guess it's based on Manhattan. Kanto and Johto at least had some... Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, and Sinnoh at least had some consistency with the real-world counterpart, but they just kind of said, fuck it, with Unova. I hate this region so much. Especially this iteration of it, just because the route is so boring. The fact that I was able to go over it without being a rambling asshole should speak volumes to how shit it is. There's optional areas here and there, but most of them aren't accessible until the post-game. The only required HMs required for exploration, I guess this could be considered a good thing, are Cut and Surf. I just hate Unova so much. It doesn't do any good for anyone. It has some good design here and there for the routes, but the world design as a whole is pretty weak. And even for both versions of it, it has this asshole area right here. It doesn't serve any purpose! You know. They did fix it somewhat for Black and White 2. So let's talk about that, okay? Yeah, there's Black and White 2's map. Here's the first one. And this gets more interesting, honestly. First off, you start here. This time, rather than over here. Actually, you can't even access over here till the post-game. Which is really interesting, kind of. It's basically, it's all the same progression as usual. You take this cave to that cave. Do you take that cave to that cave? Yeah. You do that, and then you go down here to the city. Then you head north. Here. This is still a dead end for now. So you head over here and up here. And I'm not even going to bother with these names because Unova's... Well, Black and White 2 is one of my favorite games in the series. Unova is just a region I don't really give two shits about in general. Which is kind of contradictory, I guess. But the region is actually kind of decent in Black and White 2, and the amount of post-game content is insane. But that's another matter. From here, you go over here, and then it's like, oh no, there's a dead end. And then you fly over here by plane, not by Pokemon, by plane. That's important. Not really. You still don't access the center area. Hell if I know what it is. Hell if I know what this place is. It doesn't matter to anything, apparently. Why it's even there, I don't know. But yeah, you fly over here. And you go over here. You do some stuff. You got the options to travel along here or here to do the gym battle. Actually, no. That's wrong. You do go there, but first, this route's inaccessible, so you head over here, and then you go over here, and then you have another dead end. So you go back over, you backtrack over here, and then you can travel along these routes. I think you can only travel along this one until the post-game, but still. And then you go over here to fight the Elite Four. It's a much more interesting path of progression. I actually took some explanation, and the rest of the game is post-game stuff. This whole area over here is post-game. This whole area from earlier that I mentioned is post-game. There's this connecting route. It's post-game. There's a lot of post-game. But yeah, Black and White 2 actually improves the map of the original in an interesting way that was worth talking about. And unfortunately, this brings us to Kalos. I hate Kalos more than any other region in the series. I'll take any other region over Kalos any day of the week. It is miserable. It is one of the worst designed regions outside of Unova in Black and White 1. Worst, perhaps, because it almost looks like it could be interesting. It's super arbitrary with the progression. I'm not going to talk about the mountain region, coastal, central. Those are just kind of there. It doesn't really factor into anything. Let's go over this. You go, because it's a dead end there. And then you have this huge city, and you're like, whoa! And there's like 5 branching paths. What could that mean? But actually, it's more like this. You get the center part of the city, and then you have this part of the city. have this part of the city. And then this part of the city. And you can't access these two parts right now because there's a power outage. And as we learned from Gen 4, power outages in cities means that you can't go to them. So you're forced to go with a little detour over here and back. Oh, hey! The power outage is gone. Oh, it's amazing. And you're like, ooh, whatever shall I do? And then you can connect back over here and it's like, oh, hello. This is quite adequate. I can now explore the entire city. Oh, that's nice. You could just let me do that sooner. But no, I can't discover game difficulty on my own. I have to be shoehorned into certain routes. What's the fun in that? There's no real point to going back this way either, aside from just story purposes. So you go back to here, and then you're like, woo, and then you go here, because this place serves no purpose. And then the post game is here, and fuck this post game. Fuck it. Kalos is basically the same structure as Unova. Unova is basically a balloon. Woo, for black and white one. And Kalos is this. Woo, woo, woo. That do anything for you? Good. There's a squiggly line there. That's an important squiggly line. Yeah, the map design is fucking horse shit. The different parts of the map are there for no rhyme or reason. You go through a swamp here, and then you're on a snowy mountain, and then there's a desert, and then you go over here and some other stuff. There's a beach. I fucking hate Kalos. I hate it with a burning passion. It's garbage. It is freaking garbage. No, we don't talk about Kalos in my house. Let's ignore the fact that I didn't use the right render for this. Moving on. Next is Alola. Alola, everyone. I actually like Sun and Moon a lot. It's probably one of my favorite Pokemon games, but I do have some problems with the region. I mentioned with the Sevii Islands that there wasn't a lot to talk about because of the way they were structured. There's a bit more to talk about here, so I'm going to go into each island individually. And I don't actually mind the idea of traversing island to island to progress. It's a good way to give you some minor exploration playgrounds. Actually, I guess I got that wrong. It's more like, the actual progression is more like boop, 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 boop. Neat. Yeah, on paper, I like the idea of having small, explorable islands that are open-ended, but they're not open-ended. But I guess before we get into that, there is a minor difference between Alola and Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon proper, but there's not a whole lot to know. There's like a few different routes here, whatever. Nothing major. Nothing major, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. And just like before, we're gonna talk about the individual maps, starting with Mele Mele Island. It makes me sad when I talk about this gen, because it actually does do stuff I like. And the way this map is drawn isn't very helpful for me. So I'm gonna do a mock-up real quick for important locations. So just give me a second. Okay, back. Yeah, there's basically 3 towns. One of them is basically just your house and a Pokemon Center. And the routes aren't super special or anything. Due to story progression, you're kind of funneled into taking certain routes. But the first connection to the first town is through 2 different routes. One you take at the start of the game, and one you take slightly later at the start of the game. There's a dead-end route over here. That doesn't really matter too much. Then, there's another dead end over here. Because arbitrary gate says you can't go there until you complete trials. There's also a route over here. You can't access that yet. That's fine, though, because it's an optional area entirely. So then you head over here where there's no trainers except for the school. And then where there's no trainers, then you go into town. You faff about a bit. Then you go over here. You go there. You can't progress here until you clear trial. So this means this entire segment is off limits until you complete the first trial, which I don't really understand the point of. I think the game would have been better overall if they just allowed you to explore at your leisure in the region. Because the story doesn't actually interrupt you that much. There's a key story moment here, and there's some story stuff here. You're encouraged to go this way for story elements, but there's no reason that they had to block you off here, since you can't challenge the island kahuna here until you complete the first trial. So, there's the reason you can't access this route on the way over here until you finish the trial is completely arbitrary, which is really freaking dumb. But fortunately, later in the game, there are extra areas you can explore, like this watery area, this cave system. You get a few options. There's the off branch here. It's kind of interesting, but nothing too crazy. Generally, the game this map is pretty linear, and I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity given the way they designed it. Since it's basically just a giant loop. Fruity Pebbles, what have you. It's a loop, and I don't really get why they even sectioned off parts of it. There's no point to it. And all it does is serve to make the game feel more linear than it should be. I really hope they go back to the older design philosophy at some point. But, I'm being overly harsh. No, not. Let's talk about Akala! Moving on before I go crazy. Moving on. Akala Island. Each map has its own starting point, so for this one we're starting here. I'm going to draw on it to mark cities and stuff. Hang on. Okay, yeah, there's not too many cities on this map. Nothing too spectacular. And your basic path of progression is to travel through the first city where you're blocked off by a girl on a dog who's being an asshole. Because the Pokemon series just loves assholes for some reason. So you head over here, you go over there, and then you travel up this route, and there's another dead end with asshole trees that require water. So you gotta scare them off, because they're dancing trees that'll punch you in the face. So you gotta go over here to do a trial, so you can clear the asshole tree, and that connects this route. So you're like, oh, maybe I can see what's over here, but nope, there's another dog. There's another dog. So you have to go back over here. You gotta go back over here. And let me just clean that up a bit. And head into this city. And from here, you go over here, and there's an arbitrary progress gate yet again. And a little side route over here in case you just want to do that. It doesn't really add anything. So you have to do another trial, which opens up this route. And you might be wondering, why can't I just go up this way? That's because there's a cliff, and you can't climb up cliffs. So that's a one-way route. It's a one-way route. And that is really freaking dumb. But yeah, that connects over here, so you go, ooh, trial. Ooh. Yeah. So let's go over that one more time. The basic path progression for connectivity on the map. There we go. That's how it connects. It's basically just a giant 8. And that's pretty disappointing. Actually, I'm forgetting something. There's a dead-end route that goes around here. Woo. And that basically sums up my opinion on this map. Yeah, I don't like Akala Island very much. Sometimes I wonder why I like some. I think most of it's just the story. Because the way they handle the region could have definitely been done better, honestly. Which is a shame, because there's a lot of potential. And this map really highlights the problem. Well, one of them. Yeah, we got another big city. Yeah. Yes, we've all been here before. No, well, I guess we haven't all been here before. Some of you might have. I guess that'll count as a city. Yeah, once again, 3 cities. We don't count this one because that's basically a gauntlet. And your path of progression here is dead end. Required path to progress, dead end. For some reason, arbitrary quest gate that requires the trial from up here. And then you unlock Poke Ride, which allows you to actually cross the path. So why you needed the trial gate in the first place is beyond me. Trial gates are basically this whole game's problem with exploration. They basically just said, fuck it with your options, and they're just like, we don't need to contextualize why you can't progress. We're just going to tell you you can't. Yeah, fuck you too, Game Freak. I'm being hyperbolic. I like Sun and Moon, but still. And after you go this way, you have a desert that you can't access yet. And the desert is a dead end anyway, so who cares? So then you go over here, and then you do another trial. And then you go, ooh. And then you're done. Because these routes don't connect. There's nothing to connect this end of the map with that end of the map. Don't ask me why. I couldn't tell you. They missed out on a golden opportunity to have several circular maps with little interconnecting optional routes all throughout them to create an enriched world, and they just didn't. And I don't get it. Also, the Elite Fort's here for later, but there's like one more trial left. You know. I'm not going to talk about the Ultra Space Zones from Ultra Sun and Moon because they're kind of isolated and they don't really have any depth to them other than the creative visuals. So yeah, we're going to move on to Pony Island. And this place is okay. You got one town, ranch, arbitrary trial area, depending on the game. And this is basically your path of progression here. You go around here, and then you got 3 routes, one of which you can't take now. This one is a dead end, so your only option until the post game is to go to there, which is a dead end unless you have Ultra Space. And once you get into the post game, you can go to that tree, and neither of these routes interconnect at all. So it's another map with dead ends. So the best island in the game is Melee Melee, by virtue of it actually letting you progress. Oh Lord. I'm dying, guys. I'm dying. My throat is very dry. Yeah. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, that's right. Melee Melee is the only map in the entire game which actually connects all the way around like that. The other maps have like one loop and then another loop, but it's dead end from this way, and then this route, which is a dead end that doesn't connect to anything. And then you got the other island, which is basically woo, and another one is basically like woo, and there's no exploration. There's like a few side routes that are neat, but it lacks the same mystery that a lot of the older games carried. Like, I won't go into it here, I guess. Suffice it to say, the way they handle legendaries in the later generations has a huge impact on this as well, because most of them are forced into your face. This is best represented by Gen 4, where in the Soul Silver and Heart Gold remakes, they force you to catch Lugia or Ho-Oh before you fight Team Rocket. Which is stupid, because the original let you find that shit on your own by giving you hints. And to be fair, I think that Gen 7 handles the actual legendaries well in general. It does have a problem with exploration. And on an island-by-island basis, I do think it's still better than Kalos and Unova, but it does still speak to the same design problem of the previous gens. With the literal progress gates, I will not forgive them for that. They better not bring that back into Gen 8. If they bring that in Gen 8, I'm gonna freaking lose it. I like Alola, I like the region, but they missed out on a huge opportunity to make each map feel like a living, breathing place that actually connected to one another. Are you trying to tell me, Game Freak, that if I go to an island, if I walk around the length of it, like, if I walk around like that, then I'm gonna have to, oh, my hotel's over here, but, oh, the entrance is on that side, so I gotta walk back around the entire island. Is that what you're trying to imply, Game Freak? You got something against islands? That's enough rambling. I guess the point of this video, if there was a point, was that the general design philosophy of Gens 1 through 4 was open-ended in a way in which it contextualized your method of progression in a way that made sense. While HMs were a pain in the ass in their own way, they at least felt like something that was within your power. Unlike the arbitrary, oh, the power's out in this part of the city, you can't go over here, or the linear progression of Unova, where basically it's just a guided tour of a region. I guess Kalos did that as well, but, you know. And then there's the literal progress gates of Gen 7, even though the islands are slightly more interesting. The change in design philosophy for exploration is something that really troubles me with the Pokemon series, and I hope that's something they backpedal on at some point. Because I do really love the series except for Gen 6. And I just want to see it return. If they could combine the fantastic storytelling of Sun and Moon with the exploration of Gens 1 and 2, I would be so happy. I'd be so happy. It'd be amazing. And I guess that's the end of it. So I hope this video lit a fire under you and that you enjoyed my dive into insanity and that this wasn't a complete waste of fucking time. Have a great day.